Welcome to New Trier 101, presented by our Parents Association. Thank you very much for joining us as you entered. Hopefully you were able to pick up a packet that has a variety of kind of frequently asked questions and just information. I do apologize for the warmth. This is atypical for April. If you come next fall for a parent advisor night, we are scheduled to have air conditioning in here, so no matter how warm it is outside, we should be much more comfortable. So I am certainly looking forward to that. Again, my name is Paul Waechtler. I am the principal of New Trier's Northfield Campus. It's my 26th year at New Trier, and it is certainly one of my favorite things to do is welcome incoming families. So this is another one of my favorite evenings. I'm going to show just a couple things on our kind of website, and then we will get started with our panel discussion, and I'll explain a little bit more about how this will work. So again, a couple questions that we usually get. Please, there's no need to memorize this, but your son and daughters will certainly figure it out, I think, relatively quickly. We do have a block schedule, so 4 of our periods meet on Monday, the next 4 meet on Tuesday, and then we have an anchor day in the middle, and then we repeat that process. The red parts up there just show you the different lunch periods, but all of this will be taken care of for you in your master schedule as you and your son or daughter sign up for classes. But people sometimes have a question, just how does this work? Our advisors are certainly really good at explaining it, and then the leaders, including myself, are out in the hallways the first couple days, and certainly the number one question I get is how do I get to room X? And we help them facilitate that, and then within a week or so, there's almost no questions because the students have figured it out very well. The other part I wanted to show you again is just how to kind of navigate the website if you haven't done it already. So here's our main website. To get to the incoming freshman page, just scroll down. And as you scroll down, you'll see basically every class, so 9th grade, 10th grade, things like that. If you click on the incoming freshman, it will take you to a website that basically has everything you would need for the class of 2030. It has all of the previous events that we've had, any publications or mailings we've sent out, and then maybe most importantly, if you're looking for somebody to contact, you will notice that part of my experience is to make sure your face and name is not anywhere on the website that kids are gonna, or that people are gonna email you. And so Dan, Poshkin, Lori Worth, and then Amy, their assistant, has all their contact information. And so if you have a question as things unfold, it should be easy to get a hold of somebody. So I think that's good for that. Let me go back here. So I have a variety of questions that I'm going to ask. You were likely given a note card as you entered. If something comes up as the evening unfolds and you have another question, feel free to write that note card. I was told we ran out, so if you really have a pressing question and a neighbor next to you doesn't appear to be using their note card, maybe ask to borrow theirs. We will collect those towards the end. I rarely ask your exact question, but I try to come up with, there were 4 or 5 questions about this theme and see if we can answer some of those as the evening unfolds. But I will give you a reminder for that. And the last part is kind of introductions, and so I'm just going to kind of introduce the panelists. So like I said, I'm Paul Waechtler, I'm the principal. I also have 2 daughters who graduated from New Trier, so some of my answers might incorporate a little bit of parental advice. We're going to go through the rest of the panelists, and if you see somebody coming in late, that is Augie Fontanetta. He was stuck at a competitive softball match, so as our athletic director was doing that, but he did tell me he's on his way and should be joining us shortly. And why don't we just go in order, starting with Tim.
I'm Tim Hayes. I'm the Student Activities Coordinator here at the Northfield Campus. I'm also an English teacher and an advisor. This is my 32nd year at New Trier. And in that time, I've been an English teacher, an activities coordinator, an advisor, assistant principal, assistant superintendent. So I've done a lot of different jobs. A lot of them start with A. I guess I like those jobs a lot. So, but I'm happy to be here tonight.
Hi, I'm Ann James Noonan. I'm the Performing Arts Coordinator here at the Northfield Campus. I teach theater, I'm an advisor, and this is my 24th year here at New Trier.
Hello, everyone. My name is Trish Sheridan. I am the Assistant Principal for the Class of 26, so currently working with seniors, and I will be moving over here to Northfield next year to be the Assistant Principal for the Class of 2030. Very excited. I've been at New Trier for 20 years. And I was formerly an English teacher, an advisor chair for many years, and I've been in this role for the past 3, and I'm very, very excited to be here and excited to meet all of your students.
Hi, I'm Robin Cook, and I am a parent here. I've also been involved in the NTPA, which is probably how I got asked to do this. I have 3 children who've gone through New Trier and have been here over 8 years. I have my oldest graduating this year, who is off to college, and the other 2 are in college. So, and I've had a lot of different experiences of volunteering and just plenty of things, which I guess they thought I was valuable enough to provide insight to you all. We'll see.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And again, Augie will be joining us relatively shortly. But let's start with a question for Trish. What is the role of the advisor, and how is it different from a typical homeroom? What are some ways advisors build community for freshmen?
Okay, so for those of you who are veteran parents, you know that advisory meets every morning for 25 minutes. And it really is a daily touch point for our students. And the advisor really functions, I think, as the first person to sort of connect to who makes this really large school feel more manageable and more intimate. So daily touch point, our advisors are a really critical part of your student's journey here at school. So for example, as you go through your 4 years and you're picking classes or you're adjusting a schedule, your advisor is a critical part of that. They are the person that helps with paperwork, making decisions, interfacing maybe with teachers or other staff members on behalf of your student. They are your student's advocate. So if you have a situation that comes up over the next year, and certainly beyond that, they are a sounding board. They might be someone who could guide you in the right direction when you look at the website and you can't find something or you don't know who to call. They have the eyes and ears on your student to help you navigate whatever situation you're faced with. They also serve as a partner with our post-high school counselor. So as your student goes throughout their 4 years, they will eventually become a really important part of that process as you consider post-high school planning and what type of student your child is, what are their strengths, what are the things that maybe they need to be encouraged or nudged toward, are they following their passions, are they taking a balanced schedule. So that's really the function of the advisor. In terms of community, there are lots of different things that advisory looks like. It can look different in every single room, but at the freshman campus, typically they are getting acclimated to New Trier. They're being exposed to different programs and extracurriculars, so there's a lot of communication that happens throughout the advisor period. They are important in terms of conveying school protocols and different information that we need to get to students and make sure that everybody has the same information. And then they also engage in lots of fun things. There might be advisory Olympics, there might be a service project, things that really bond the students together, because that group of students will remain together for 4 years, which is pretty powerful and pretty exciting. So although the freshman advisor may only be with them for 1 year, they are building a community because the group of students stays together. So when they transition to the Winnetka campus, they will pick up a new advisor in most cases, and then that advisor stays with the group for 3 years until they graduate. And we are in the throes of getting ready for our graduation, and we've watched these students grow over the past 3 years, and it's really exciting. And then lastly, we have some student leaders who also are part of the freshman experience. So we have juniors or seniors who come over and assist with the freshmen and build community as well. So they are there as an older student, a student mentor, and they really guide activities. They might be answering questions. They help students connect with different places within the building, and they're just a great group of student leaders.
Great, thank you very much, Trish. And Augie is on his way to his seat, so he will be ready for his athletics question when I get to him. The next question I'm actually going to ask to myself, but just what is the flexibility of level system during freshman year and then freshman year to sophomore year are frequent questions we get from parents and students. And so we gave you level recommendations a few months ago, and you've now picked your courses. We give you obviously some flexibility to move up or down levels during that process. And then once school begins, at that point, to move up or down a level is at the teacher discretion. And of course, that would be potentially in a conversation with your child, with you, with the advisor. But that's not something that you can necessarily accomplish, but something that the teacher would decide on. My one caution, either up or down, is to let that unfold at least for 6 or 8 weeks. Often they're doing review materials, or there's a transition to high school, and so some people will say, oh, it's just too easy, and quite frankly, in 3 or 4 weeks, it won't be too easy. Or the students may be struggling in their transition to high school, and they're like, I just need to move down a level, and they're very capable of the academic work. They just need to get more familiar with the system, and we'll support them through that. You can make a request as a family through the advisor to move up for second semester, but kind of a couple caveats. One, we have to have room in the class, and then we also don't want to blow up your entire schedule. So let's say you're going from 3 to 4 level in physics. Well, sure, we have room, but it's not the period you currently have it, and so now we need to move 3 or 4 other classes to accommodate that, and that's not always the best thing for a student who's already built relationships with the peers in their classroom and the teachers they currently have. And then certainly going from freshman to sophomore year, we would want you to talk to your advisor, talk to the teacher of any class you're thinking of changing the level, get their input, work with them, and then see if going for sophomore year, we would kind of reopen that registration and allow you to potentially move up or down depending on how those conversations go. And so that is one of the things that again, gets frequently asked. Again, I would say kind of take a measured approach. I would discourage anybody from moving up or down in a whole bunch of classes. Maybe try 1 or 2, see how that goes, and then go from there. And again, like I said, I had 2 daughters go. Both of them moved up or down in different levels throughout their 4 years here, almost always in pursuit of their own interest. They really got interested in something, and so they may have wanted to challenge themselves. And then also based on extracurricular and just life things that were going on, they didn't want to be spending 4 or 5 hours every single night doing homework. And so there was times where they're just like, I just need a little bit of a relief in my schedule so that I can also enjoy my other interests and passions and explore those things. And so again, I would take a whole child approach too, like what's going to be best for your child to get a great education and get out of new career being prepared for the next step, but also look back and think, hey, this was a really good overall experience. My next question's for Augie. So when do athletics start? Should I do summer school for athletics? What are the no-cut sports for the different seasons? And what are expectations for skill levels and experience when you try out for a team? So I know that's a variety of questions. Happy to repeat any that you need, Augie.
Thank you, Paul. Good evening and welcome. First, I'll start by saying that athletics is divided into 3 seasons. One of the things that we believe in here at New Trier, and especially myself, high school is an opportunity for you to try different sports. I know that it can be a little bit daunting for a lot of the incoming freshmen to try something they haven't tried, or maybe they're apprehensive because they don't think their skill level is quite what it needs to be. And so I would tell you, keep pushing them to try it at least. I'm sure they'll be surprised. We do make every effort to keep as many freshmen on our freshman teams as we possibly can, and we try not to cut as much there. But that being said, there are some sports that will reduce their squads, and it really is tied to the number of kids that try out. There are sports for each season that are no cut. In the fall, which this year So we have a little bit different calendar for the football schedule. So they actually start August 5th. And then all the other fall sports will start the week of August 10th. And all this information will be on our website, as well as I email each family in the entire district to let them know when upcoming registration is and what sports are available and what sports are cut and non-cut sports. But to give you a little bit of an idea of the non-cut sports in the fall are girls swimming and diving, both boys and girls cross country. Typically, our girls golf program has not cut in the past couple of years for the JV level. We started boys badminton last fall, which was a no-cut sport, and then football is a no-cut sport. So those are the fall sports. Like I said, others will try to keep everybody, but it really is dependent on the number of athletes that try out. In the winter, most of the sports start November 9th, the week of November 9th. There's variations in the winter and the spring, so you have to pay attention to the emails and the website. But girls basketball starts a week earlier on November 2nd, and then most other sports start the week of November 9th. Again, some of the non-cut sports, boys swimming and diving, wrestling, boys and girls wrestling, boys and girls fencing, and then we have boys and girls bowling. It's typically no cut, but there are times that they may need to cut, but I would go in thinking that would be an opportunity to try a new sport. Most of the kids that come here and bowl, so sports like bowling and wrestling are really good examples, and even fencing. Those are sports where kids come in with no experience, and they learn as high school athletes. The spring season starts March 1st with the exception of track and field. Boys track and field and girls track and field, which is no cut, starts in about the third week of January. And that goes from, it's really a spring sport, but it starts in January. And so that'll start a little bit earlier. Past practice for the couple of years, girls water polo has not cut. Our badminton team has not made cuts. And then we offer powerlifting, which is co-ed, and also bass fishing, which is co-ed. So there's a lot of opportunities during each season. In terms of skill level, that's going to vary on the sport that you try out for. A boys basketball team is going to be a little bit more difficult, and you're going to need a little bit more skill than some of the other, non-cut sports or cut sports. So it really just varies on the sport. Most of the sports we try to keep more than one freshman team. It doesn't always work that way, but that's always our goal. Summer school. I think summer school is a personal choice. I think the coaches, yes, they like to see the kids in the summer. I would say if they're not taking an academic course or if they're just at home, then I would definitely encourage them to register for a summer sport. It's a great opportunity to not just meet the coaches, but really to meet other kids and determine whether or not the sport that they're in for summer school is one that they want to try out for the upcoming school year.
Great, thanks, Augie. Next question is for Anne. What type of performing arts opportunities are there? Do you have to try out for all opportunities? And are there opportunities for students without significant skills or experience? And then the last one is, how does stage crew participation work?
So performing arts is an umbrella term. We offer all sorts of extracurricular opportunities in dance, instrumental music, in singing, and in plays and in musicals, and that includes our technical theater and design program that is typically called Stage Crew. You might know it from as Stage Crew. But really, our whole goal is to hope to entice students to try something in performing arts. I think there's a myth that you have to have been involved in a performing arts since you were a baby or like doing community theater programs, and nothing could be further from the truth. We are really looking for a range of students who want to be involved, and we've had great success in retaining kids with no experience. They want to go on and continue to explore, and then kids who have lots of experience seem to very much participate and appreciate the level of participation that they can have in our program. So in the fall, we have a company called Northfield Dance Ensemble that is a no-cut opportunity for students to dance. We have a comedy club that meets at the Winnetka campus. We also have a musical that is a cut production, but we try and include as many kids as we possibly can. The students who are involved in that production get to work with a student leadership board, which has been very exciting, and we did that this year for the first time, and it was hugely successful. The instrumental students can be involved, and we have a pep band that plays at our football and our basketball games, depending on the season. And then they can also get involved in our musical theater productions. So there's a little bit for everybody, but I would say in the fall, kids can find at least one or two things in their area of interest, and it's all on the New Trier website under Performing Arts. If you want more information, we have the sponsors' names that are there. Kids can just email the sponsors, but then we also do a lot of work at the beginning of the year to make sure kids know when things are coming up. We do not start in the summer. We wait until after the first week of school has ended before anything starts in our area. We want to make sure kids are settled and feel comfortable before they start getting involved in our program. So they should get lots of information when they come here to school, and we're ready to start working with them. And then Paul asked a little bit about our stage crew program, which is tied to all of the different productions that we do. And students don't have to have any experience. We have 3 full-time technical directors that work with our students in our stage crew program. They learn how to design and build lights, sets, costumes, makeup, you name it. They get experience doing it, and they don't have to have any experience before they come in. And we typically offer all of these activities on a quarter basis. So let's say your student isn't interested in doing anything performing arts the first quarter, then the second quarter we offer all new opportunities, the third quarter, the fourth quarter. So there's a chance to jump in at any given time, and we really look to get kids involved all year long.
And maybe just a little plug for stage crew. I actually have a neighbor that lives 3 doors down from me who was a varsity athlete, loved athletics, and every single year she did at least one of the quarters of stage crew and absolutely loved it. And she's like, I just meet some different people. It's a different part of the school. I love to build things and construct things, and just had a wonderful experience. So again, I would encourage all of your children, just look for different things that they might be interested in, give it a try, and we have wonderful adults that will help them figure out if that's something that they really enjoy. To Robin then, how do parents get involved in the New Trier community, and are there opportunities to volunteer?
Thank you, Paul. So there are so many things to do at New Trier, and if you're a first-time parent, I really say I am jealous of you in many ways, because this is such a great experience, and I'm kind of done with this. But I would say that there's at least one thing that you can probably do, and that let me just explain what those things are. First and foremost, there are parent organizations. If you got here early, you would see the 3 main parent organizations that were here, the NTPA, which is really a communication vehicle. We're not as much of a fundraising as many of the feeder schools PTAs are, and our role is really to be between the parents, a liaison between parents and the school, and provide different programming. The NTPA sponsors this, for instance. Second is the Booster Club, which really is supporting athletics, and it does a lot of the fundraising for a variety of athletic equipment. And there's, do you have to have a big-time athlete to want to join that? No, not at all. It's someone who just wants to support. And what's nice about that program is it does have probably a broader mix of male and females on the board. So men don't feel like you can't join that board, and it typically meets at night. So that's the last board. And then the No Trier Fine Arts Association, which supports our fine arts and also does a lot of support and fundraising for the fine arts department that we just talked about. And you know, does your kid have to be involved? No, but you probably would have more of an interest depending on where your child is interested in. I did sport, I did Booster Club for many years. I got to know Augie quite well through that experience, and I've also been on the NTPA for 8 years, which is kind of crazy for me. But it's not limited to that, and let me just get to the other ways I wanted to say. You can also volunteer through these organizations. Sometimes you'll see things like support the dance and be able to come to the dance. Your kids may not like that, but you may love to be a fly on the wall at one of your kids' dances. There's getting involved as a room parent. There's just a variety of one-off ways that you can also volunteer, or advisory parents, or what we call it here. There are things such as staffing at a table. So you don't have to feel that it is a big commitment, but it's just a way to, one, see what's going on in school. I love that. Or be able to give back to the school. Next, attend events. And this is beyond the volunteering, but the amount of activities that New Trier puts on is really amazing. Whether it's going to a football game on a Friday night under the lights, one time is really great, or I've gone to many of the jazz concerts or plays that Fine Arts have put on. I don't have kids in it. I'll recognize a child or two, but it is just amazing what these different events are that the school does. Last night we had a program for parents who, with Jeff Salingo, who wrote the book Dream School, and we did a book club with Denise, who is one of our principals here. So there are many ways to get involved and see other people. And I'm gonna see if I have one more thing. Oops, I wrote this all down because I didn't want to forget it. And then lastly, I would say stay informed. And Paul already put in a plug for this, but there are a variety of ways to know what's going on in the school. One is just look at the website. They redid the website this year, and it's a wealth of knowledge and information that really can guide you on what's going on at school, what are the big activities. Follow New Trier on Instagram if you're on Instagram. There's a New Trier Parents Organization, a New Trier Parents on Facebook. And then also make sure you sign up for the Parent Square, which is the communication vehicle. So that's just a way to get knowledgeable about what's going on. And I think that probably is it for me on involvement.
Great, thank you. If your child tries to talk you out of volunteering to go to the dance, you can just let them know that at least you weren't the principal that was going to their dance, as my daughters used to complain about. Right. I've got 5 questions for Tim, so hopefully he can sort them out, but I will repeat anything you need. So what clubs or activities are available for freshmen? When or how do students learn about the different clubs? Which ones have applications? And can you join something in the middle of the year? And what if you're an athlete that's in season?
Okay, we have an enormous student activities program here at New Trier. So we have almost 150 clubs that are available to students, which is just so many. But with a student body as large as ours, you can support that kind of program. Here at the freshman campus, we have about 20-25 clubs that will meet here on campus, and then the rest of those clubs meet at Winnetka. Almost all of them are open to freshmen. The only clubs that are not open to freshmen are clubs that are specifically tied to something like a board that runs, for example, like Tri-Ship Board or Girls Club Board at the Winnetka campus. That's only available to upperclassmen. But those organizations have sister clubs here at the Northfield campus that are only freshmen. So there's a Tri-Ship that's only freshmen, a Girls Club that's only freshmen. And so there is an opportunity for freshman students to participate in those organizations as well. Kids find out about student activities through a number of events. The first is coming up at the beginning of May. We have After the Academics, which I hope that you'll all come to. It's a great opportunity to come and meet with sponsors, with coaches, with members of the Performing Arts Division who run all of these extracurricular offerings for kids. Then in the fall, we hold an assembly where Ann and Augie and I stand up here and talk to all of the freshmen again about what those opportunities are. That's in the first full week of school. Then we hold an activities fair a couple of weeks later during student lunch periods out in the courtyard. And so then clubs will come and set up tables, and kids can come and get more information about what clubs they want to join. The clubs that do meet during the advisor period, so that's Tri-Ship, Girls Club, Pep Club, Student Senate, our ELS helpers have a meeting that usually happens during that time period too. Those clubs that meet, and Trevia, they all have applications. And so I, at the assembly, will talk to the kids about what the deadlines are, how to do the applications. We try to take as many students as we possibly can. Some clubs in some years will have over 100 students apply. We just can't have a club that large, but we will run a club with 60 or 70 kids in it. So we do try to take as many freshmen as we possibly can. The student activities program is very flexible, so you can, except for those clubs that meet during the advisor period, you can come in and out of a club as your time permits. So if you're really interested in a club, you join that club, and then you go into season during the winter. You can stop going to club and then come back again in the spring when you're free again. There's no attendance taken or no requirement that you attend a certain number of meetings. The only clubs where there's going to be pressure to continue to meet is if you're in a club that's really competitive. So if you're in Science Olympiad, for example, it's a team competition. And so if you're going to join Science Olympiad, the expectation is you're going to keep coming to meetings if you want to compete in the competitions. What did I miss? I think that's, so it's an amazing program. One other thing you might want to take a look at, Stacy Kolak, who's the activities coordinator at the Winnetka campus, and I spent last summer working with post-high school counseling to do a document we're really proud of that talks about how to think about student club participation and post-high school experiences. So this is a really wonderful way for kids to explore their interests. It's also a really valuable source of experiences that they can talk about when they decide where they want to go after high school. So they can come back and talk about leadership, organizing specific events, how they've problem solved, how they've done conflict resolution. There are all of these ways in which they can draw on those experiences in their application process. So that's on the student activities portion of the website if you're interested in taking a look.
Great, thank you, Tim. We have a question, how do students adjust to the block schedule? What are the benefits? I'll just add a few thoughts to that. So we actually moved to the block schedule during COVID for somewhat logistical reasons, but certainly also philosophical. And as we've talked to students, one of the main things they say is having only 2 or 3 academic classes typically to prepare for each day is a whole lot better than 5. And so even if their overall workload is similar to what it used to be, not worrying about 5 different assignments every single night and staying on top of that has certainly alleviated some of their stress and just kind of overall anxiety towards school. It's easier to manage preparing maybe for one test rather than several on that day. And the one thing we also hear from them is they complain a lot about anchor days, which I showed earlier has every period meeting, which used to be how we ran every single day of school. So I think that alone is a testament that this has worked out relatively well. One thing we do hear, making sure that you as a student are focused and stay engaged for that entire period is important. And if you miss school, you've now missed a larger amount of instruction for a single day in that class. And so those are some things that kids just kind of have to manage on the back end. But overall, it's been a real success. And again, if you ask them, do you want to have an anchor day every day? I think well over 90% of our kids would be like, absolutely not. Going to Trish now, what type of resources are available at New Trier?
So I think I'm going to split this up into things that are available to all students and then situations that might warrant a deeper level of support. So for all students, I would say that the climate and culture here is to really start with your teacher. If you have a question, if you're confused, you're not sure about homework, we invite students to come in and meet with teachers. That is your best first line of defense. Help them be their best advocates. We are not a school that has individual classrooms, so every department has an office, and so there's a nice community in there. Students are welcome to come in. If for some reason that's not an option or your student doesn't need maybe that level of support, you might want to encourage them to visit the Academic Assistance Center. That is housed here at Northfield as well as the Winnetka campus, and it's a fabulous resource. Here it's mostly run by, I think, retired Nutria teachers, so what better resource than to go ask the former, math, physics, whoever, about how to prepare better for a test or maybe explain a problem or help review an essay. So that's a fabulous resource. At the Winnetka campus, it is run by several staff members and also peer tutors. So sometimes we have students helping students, and sometimes we have adults helping students. It's a place where students can drop in, do homework, ask a question, and a great space for them. We also have quiet spaces in the library where sometimes students just want to be in a place where they're not distracted by other students and just need to get something finished. When we have students involved in all of these activities and sports and performing arts, they need some time during the school day. So at times they might utilize the library, they utilize their study hall, and so those are great options. We also have a social work department. We have resources for students who might be struggling socially and emotionally. Students can sign up, have an assessment, just to sort of see if they need to check in with someone or they need some guidance. It's a drop-in option as well if they're in crisis, for example. We encourage them, no matter what, to seek out a trusted adult, whether that's in the social work office, a teacher, an advisor. Advisors, of course, are a great resource as well. So as students start to navigate things and things might become difficult or they're not sure they're in the right place, a great option is certainly your advisor. Your advisor is a person who might start to realize, like, I'm getting phone calls from other teachers. Maybe we need to seek out some more support for a student. So the advisor is a person who can then bring a student to what we call problem-solving team. So maybe they're just in need of a little bit more support than just your typical, I'm just gonna go see my teacher, but maybe they need a little more structure in their day or some executive functioning support and things like that. So the advisor would be the person to sort of start with, who would then bring it to our graduating class team to sort of evaluate whether we need to find a place and a support for that student. We gather feedback from teachers and we take lots of different information and try to make the best decisions on behalf of your student. And then also, as time goes on, if your student is really struggling and there's a little bit more of a significant need, we also have more formalized processes for 504 and IEPs. And that's something that, again, starts with your advisor, who would then start that process or engage the graduating class team if there's something that's more significant.
All right. Thanks, Trish. A question for Robin. So what advice do you have to give to your student meeting new people and taking advantage of the social opportunities available?
Okay. So the thing that I felt was to start by getting involved. The piece of advice I gave my kids was there's so much new and to try here, and to start with doing 2 things by Halloween. Whatever they may be, as everyone here talked about, there's so much to try that they have not been exposed to before, and I highly recommend that they just put themselves out there, go to a club that seems of interest. They don't have to stay. Try a sport that we talked about, but that would be one thing. The other thing I would say is really utilize your advisory. It is really a nice support system, and put yourself, kind of lean into the advisory. The advisory is a great way to meet new kids, just because you weren't friends with them in junior high doesn't mean you may not be friends with them here. Be open to those kind of things. But my key points are to try 2 things before Halloween, and then 2 things, and then lean into your advisory.
Great, thank you. The only thing I would add, sometimes freshmen just need reassurance. And even if your child went to Wilmette, so you went to the biggest junior high, there are still hundreds and hundreds of kids that you've never met that are going to be part of the freshman class. And so remind them that everybody's trying new things, everybody's meeting new people, and that I think goes a long way to reassure them that they're not the only one in this boat. Like everybody's kind of in a similar situation, and so if they are friendly and just welcoming to other people and trying some new activities, that will probably go a long way to them meeting some new friends.
I actually would, I just looked at my notes again. The other thing I do think, if they don't, we talked about summer school, and there are a variety of activities they could do at summer school, which really acclimates them to New Trier. They'll meet a bunch of different kids. My oldest took cooking. He ended up taking cooking a few more times at New Trier. He was probably one of the few boys in the class, but he loved it. My other 2 did some sports during the summer, but there are a variety of activities they can do, and not all it needs to be pressure. It just is a way to kind of ease into New Trier.
Great, thank you. Augie, can you talk about what intramural opportunities are available for students, and can you play intramurals and play a team sport?
Great question, because intramurals is also an opportunity for parents to get involved. Our intramural program is run by our booster club. So I work with the booster club, and we offer different activities throughout each season. And so because it's run by the booster club, those parents who are involved in the booster club are the ones that typically would volunteer their time to run these leagues. And so in the fall, well, just throughout the year, but in the fall we do golf and tennis, and then we offer paddle in the spring, and then in the winter we do a spike volleyball league on Monday evenings, and then our most popular one is a night league, where essentially every gym across both campuses has basketball games going on at all grade levels. It's a really popular intramural program. Most of the kids, well, I wouldn't say most, because a lot of the kids who are playing sports are also involved in night league. It really just depends. Like our golf intramurals tends to lean towards some kids who maybe didn't try out for the golf team or didn't have the chance to make it, and so that's usually run after school. So it just depends on when it's offered, but you can do both as long as your schedule allows it. But I would, encourage you to get involved as a parent too, to help run these. We're always looking for people to volunteer through that.
Okay, thanks, Augie. I have a note here to remind myself, if you do have a question, please write it down on a note card, maybe hold it up a little bit. We will have some members of the NTPA that are circulating, hopefully collecting those as we ask our last 2 or 3 questions, and then we'll have, again, some time for me to maybe get to some of those additional questions. So going to Trish, who helps students and families plan out their courses over their 4-year experience?
So that information can come from a couple of sources. I think one of the main sources is your student's teacher. So they will often make a recommendation. I don't think my mic's on. Is that okay?
Just tap it, see if it's on.
It is on. Okay, maybe I need to lean in. Okay, I'm leaning into advisory, Robin. Okay, so some of the guidance will come from your student's teacher. So they make recommendations oftentimes in the core subject areas, and they're making the recommendation based on the student's performance in that class. So they are a great resource. Sometimes students are recommended for multiple courses, and that's where the advisor can play a role in sort of balancing, where do you want to challenge yourself? Where do you really want to sort of maybe take a class that you do pretty well in, and it's an easier class for you. So it's really about balance and really listening to the folks around you. Like Paul said earlier, I would not try to make too many changes at the same time, because it's really difficult then to sort of unravel that if it's not working out. I would also say that there's some post-high school planning or programming that happens at each year level where they give some guidance, each year to sort of think about the 4-year picture and what that might look like and how that, what you take freshman year, sophomore year, then sort of where that leads by junior and senior year. So lots of resources, utilize all of the people in the building. Department chairs can also be a great resource. So if you as a parent are trying to figure out how to guide your student, you can talk to both advisor or the teacher or even the department leader who has a wealth of information about the nuances of different courses in different departments.
Great, thank you, Trish. Question about summer school courses and which are most popular. Can freshmen take them for academic credit, and why or why not? So I'll just kind of answer that myself. So athletics is certainly our most popular in general. That is, we will have hundreds and hundreds of students, if not almost 1,000, take summer school athletics for all of the reasons you already heard. You get to meet the coaches, you get to meet some other peers. So it's a great introduction. I have even had people who were not necessarily even planning to play that sport during the school year, but they liked it enough to do it during summer, and again, opportunity to meet some new people. There's another ones you heard, like cooking, some experiential ones. We do not allow you to take kind of academic or graduation requirements the summer before freshman year. We want your first high school experience to be while you're a full-time student. If anything comes up, we can certainly support you doing that. And so we do not have students coming into their freshman year take academic courses. And then my last one, I think we're just going to start all the way down at the end with Robin and work our way this way. Is what is one tip you would give to an incoming parent or student?
All right, well, I'm going to take a little leeway, and it's not going to be one, because I asked my 3 kids what their tips were as incoming, and then I also thought what mine would be. My first son was a senior helper and was very involved he was also a bridge builder senior helper. I've already said some of his tips, which was really try some things out freshman year. Definitely go and do, activities, try a sport, whatever that may be, but really don't feel shy about doing that. And just try something, because that's a way to meet people, discover new ideas, try new things. And then he also was the one who kind of said, make sure, the advisory is really a great place, and use it, lean in, as I said before. My next piece of advice is around academics, and this came from my son, who's a freshman now, and he actually said, freshman year kind of counts. Don't overlook that. Don't stress anyone out, but it does kind of count, because it's a third of your grades that when you apply to college, really. Many people apply early decision and, pay attention. I was kind of surprised by that. Not all of my children followed that, but maybe he did. So that was one. My next thing is also academics, and it kind of goes on to what Trish was just saying, which was really about how do you plan your years. And this is something that has somewhat changed, but there is called a program of studies that is on the website. It used to be passed out, but it changes a lot, but it's always on the website. And I highly recommend, before your kids and you end up approving their program of studies, go read the first 12 pages, because it really helps guide sort of what prerequisites are, what are requirements, and you'll have to think about, maybe my child should take civics during the summer because it's a prerequisite for something, or I didn't know that intro to business would count as my consumer ed. So it's just helpful to read all those and kind of be familiar. Not to say that it's not your kid's choice, but it just helps understand that. And I think that not every parent does. And then my last piece of advice comes from me, and that is, I lie. My daughter did have one piece. She's the senior, and she, my story about her is she was always an athlete I think she's played like 5 different sports. Her sophomore year, she picked up a new sport. She is going to college to play that. And her piece of advice was not just about a sport, but don't be scared to try something new even after freshman year. There really is so many things to do here, and you may find your passion your junior year. You may find it your senior year, but don't be shy about trying new things because there's so many options to do at New Trier. Okay, now I'm going to my piece of advice, which was probably really the question, so I apologize. But my piece of advice was, as a parent, teach your child self-advocacy. I think that if they come out of New Trier learning how to advocate for themselves, you've done a world of good. And when I say that, I don't say don't get involved, but I really think if you can teach your children how to problem solve, where to go, when, and know when to step in, when they get to college, there's going to be such a benefit to that. And so really encourage them who to reach out to. You've learned a lot here about who the people are that can help them, but advocacy would be my one tip as a parent to make them successful in college.
All right, thanks, Augie.
That was outstanding.
Well,
I'm
thank
not sure if I have
you.
anything else to add, but I just think as both parents and students coming in, I mean, you'll learn if you're a new family coming in, New Trier has just an unbelievable array of possibilities and opportunities for your student and also for yourselves. I mean, just get involved. This is just a great place for your student to learn and grow from freshman year through senior year. And we really here as adults, I could speak as an administrator, and I'm sure any one of our support staff members or teachers or anybody in the building would be happy to help your students grow and find new opportunities. But really get involved and, keep pushing them a little bit. They need a little bit of push. I mean, I got a little story, but it's athletics related. But I pushed my one daughter into golf her freshman year because it kind of adhering to Robin's philosophy of I wanted her to try something in the fall season. She's an athlete, so she chose a sport. And now she's a head coach at a high school nearby in golf and teaches there. So you gotta try new things. Trust us on that.
All right, thanks, Augie. How about you, Trish?
I would say one piece of advice would be to allow your child to make a mistake and learn from the mistake. So I also, in my role, have to work with our advisor chairs who are the folks in the building who fortunately and unfortunately have to work with students who might make a poor choice at a moment in time. And our philosophy is really about thinking about that moment, what led up to it, what's the story behind the behavior, the action, and then how do we help the student move forward. So we want to partner with parents and we want your support to sort of work through those processes because sometimes those moments are the most beneficial in terms of their growth and development. And those are things that will serve them well down the road because sometimes, choices do have consequences, good and bad. And we really want to work together to help build those resiliency skills so that when they do face something down the road and you're not right there, they can manage and problem solve on their own. And that's why we're here. It's about education and support and growth and development of students.
Great, thanks, Trish. How about you, Ann?
I think that all of your kids are going to graduate with all of the requirements that they need. There's just no kid that I've ever, in the 24 years I've been here, that hasn't graduated with every single requirement. So we have these wonderful classes called electives, and they are non-required courses that your kids can take from experts in the field. And they can learn about all different kinds of things, many of which might lead to a future career. So when your kids start looking at registering for their sophomore year, I know they've already done this for freshman year, but maybe encourage them not to take exactly what their best friend is going to take or what their brother or sister took. There is a wealth of information in the course catalog that Robin referenced. And, you know, if you get bored one day, you can go and look and see how many wonderful courses there are. And it's just incredible, the courses that we have at this school. And we just really want to encourage kids to explore during the school day as well as after school. And one really easy way to do that is to sign up for an elective course in an area that may be of emerging interest for your kid. And not maybe the elective that they think is going to get them into business school, or, you know, there just is so many of them. And so just really thinking about what electives can do in your kid's schedule. Thanks.
Great. And how about you, Tim?
So before our event this evening, Ann and I were talking a little bit about something that I think is really important, which is I think it's both as an incoming freshman and as a parent, when my kids were freshmen, I think I had an idea of the path that they were supposed to go on. And I don't know that we ever said it out loud, but we kind of had this idea that you do this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and this is the path, right? But what happened with both of them was that they immediately started finding their own path. And that meant that as a parent, I had to learn to be a little bit more flexible. I think the beautiful part of that is that over the next 4 years, you're going to get to see them becoming the adults they're going to become. And it is a wonderful thing. I mean, they change a lot in 4 years. And when they come in as freshmen, and then when I see them in the hallways as seniors over at the Winnetka campus, they are confident. They know who they are in a way that's very different than they do as freshmen. So it's a wonderful experience, but it does require a little bit of flexibility. You got to kind of be open to the idea that there are actually dozens and dozens of pathways that lead you to graduation.
Great. Thank you, Tim. I'll add just a couple thoughts. So one, I don't know if you can think back to when you were in high school, but I loved my high school experience. I enjoyed my classes. I had really good teachers. I played basketball all 4 years. I did a couple clubs. I had a good group of friends. But when I think back to it, my general theme would be I just had a lot of fun. And it doesn't mean I didn't do homework, maybe not as much as I should have, but I was a relatively serious student. And I think our students often look at high school as pre-college. And I don't think that should be its purpose. I think high school should be enjoyable in its own sake. And so reminding our students of that, I think, is an important part. And then the other part is this is a wonderful community. I obviously live and work in it. I sent my own daughters here because I think it's a wonderful institution. With that said, I do think too often our students tie their own self-worth to their academic achievement, or whether they're star of the play or they're the starting point guard on the basketball team. And I think that's a really difficult way to go through life. I would encourage us as a community to focus on making good human beings first, and then the other things will kind of sort themselves out. So those were just a couple pieces of advice I wanted to share. We have a handful of questions, not too many, so I'm going to go through these relatively quickly. Augie is the most popular person for the questions, so start with a few for those. Couple just logistical things. When will students receive confirmation that they've been accepted into a summer camp? Is one of them. How do they get more information about summer camps? I'm assuming they mean summer school. And then looking to any of the seasons, but if a child tries out for a sport and doesn't make it, is there still athletic opportunities available to them that season?
It's a lot. In terms of acceptance into a summer course, there's no, what's that? In terms of acceptance into a summer school, there's no acceptance. It's registration for the summer course. Summer school is open. All of the high school athletic offerings are within our summer course catalog. So you can find all the information there. If it's a specific sport, you could reach out to the head coach for information. Just about every single sport offers a summer camp opportunity. So it's open to everybody, and it's a great way to get involved. If you're, particularly with the freshman year, if your student tries out for a sport and does not make it, and you'll get this communication as as families when registration for fall sports opens, which will be in about a month from today, I think, a month. So it'll give you some information that if they don't make it, they should contact us, and we'll work through it to get them into another sport. So we've had several kids who, maybe tried out for boys soccer, didn't make the boys soccer team, but then we got them started in boys cross country or even boys swimming. There was one other that I did not. What was the other one?
It was, if you try out for a sport and don't make it, and the rest was about summer school, so I think you're good. A question I'll just quickly answer myself, talking about food allergies. If your child has food allergies that you're concerned about, email myself, Dan Poshton, the associate principal, or Lori Worth, our transition coordinator, and just put that on our radar, and we will put you in touch with the food service manager at this campus. Sometimes we just have an email exchange. We've had parents and students come in and meet with them, but we can walk through that with you. So please reach out to us, and we can help you get that information and certainly arrange a meeting if that's necessary. I'm going to start with Trish on this one. I'm hoping she can answer better than I can based on the question, and then I'll add my thoughts if I need to. So the question talks about course credits. So how do you explain course credits? Where do specials come from? I'm not exactly sure what they mean by specials for credit. And what's your general recommendation for spreading out the credits to make sure you do everything you want to, but also graduate on time?
Thanks for that easy question, Paul. This is a really hard question because there really isn't a one-size-fits-all, to be honest. I think you really have to think about what makes most sense for your child. So we have, the requirement is 23 credits. And if you do the math over the course of 4 years, like Ann said earlier, the minimum requirements are pretty easily met throughout just taking your core academics and an elective or two, depending on the year. So we have a lot of flexibility, and I think all about what night was that where we did the sort of different course offerings for freshman year?
Yeah, so academic life is about
academic life. Thank you.
Yes.
So academic life, we put out there a couple of different types of schedules for freshmen, but it's really hard to sort of say this is what you should do. I think it's really about thinking about what's your student interested in, how will they be appropriately challenged, and if they have a unique interest, don't be afraid to explore it, because sometimes that unique interest is actually what separates them from every other student. So encourage them to try things, especially if they want to do it freshman year, because over time you show growth in that area. It's a really powerful thing, and those students become leaders in those areas over time.
Great, thank you. Yeah, just kind of logistically, a full year course is 1 credit, so that's how you get to the 23. Most of our students take 19 or 20 academic credits, so most years they might take 5 academic courses, but certainly we have ones that take 4. And the only other thing I would add is you have access coming into freshman year. You probably met with a counselor at your junior high, but for the rest of the high school experience, you'll have access to your advisor and post-high school counseling if you have specific questions that they can help you with. Again, back to Augie real quick. If a student has 2 sports they're hoping to play freshman year and they both have summer workout or conditioning programs, is there a better one to sign up for? How does a student navigate that?
Summer school both at the same time is what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah, that can happen. Particularly, it happens with baseball and football on the boys' side of things more than others. We try to schedule them apart from one another. Most of the freshman camps. Typically, what you do is you just work with each head coach, and they're very understanding. They allow the kids to go back and forth, and they just work. They work out their own schedule with both coaches of the camp to make it both work. If you're struggling at trying to get answers for that, just reach out to me. I'll help navigate that. But it can be done, and it's done every summer, and we definitely support it.
Great, thank you. And then the last question, I'm just going to add some thoughts to, just talks about how does the Northfield experience help kids better understand their career options or talents and potential, so that they can choose the right courses. Again, I would go back to the advisor system and access to post-high school counseling, but we have a few other specific things. So every freshman does take kind of an interest or talent survey through Maya Learning, which is just kind of a portfolio type thing that helps them navigate both high school and then post-college or post-high school during that experience. And so they will take surveys like that, learn a little bit more about themselves, have some reflection activities. We also have a pilot that we're doing called Design Your New Career Experience, where students can opt to come out of study hall once a week and go through kind of a design thinking experience to, again, just get them to reflect on their talents and interests based on that. What are different opportunities they want to explore during their freshman year, but certainly also sophomore through senior year. And so those combinations of things I think will really help your child, again, learn a lot about themselves, plan out their 4 years, and then just understand that that's going to change from freshman to sophomore year and then sophomore to junior. They're going to continue to learn more about themselves and likely have new interests in things they want to pursue. So that concludes the evening. Thank you very much for coming. If we could just give a round of applause to our panelists.
They were losing 3-0. I was sitting there and
I want to thank the NTPA for organizing it, and if you did not happen to pick up a packet, please do so on the way out, and look forward to welcoming your students next fall. So have a wonderful evening.
Sure, it's been back.